Well, here I am again, lucky people. It's the Midnight Skeptic, and today is Thursday. Um, it's the 14th of March, and it's about 10 minutes after 3 right now. So, one purpose of these Midnight Skeptic broadcasts on YouTube and Sunday nights on KPCA.FM worldwide and locally at 103.3 FM is to help in my own small way to rid this country of GOP Republicans, especially of hateful, cruel MAGA heads who don't like much of anybody except for the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his minions, and to rid this planet of all religions. Do you think I'm going to be successful at that? Nah, probably not, but I'm trying in my own small way. And I mean all religions. And faith and religion do not help with the advancement of knowledge in mankind. Faith is not a way to know reality. Science is not scientism, as a pastor once said to me, when I brought up science, and he equated that with just a list of facts. And there are no facts as such in science. Science is just a process for finding the truth about how this world, how everybody and everything on it work, how the universe works, and any scientific quote-unquote truth can be questioned when new data comes along. Okay, enough of that. I want to do my shout-outs after I tell you all out there how woke I am. I am woke, I am woke, I am woke, woke, woke. I've noticed that the GOP, the Republican hate mongers, are not using that word so much anymore. Okay, it's time for the shout-outs. Mickey Huff and his two cohorts, Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth, they all are the publishers of the annual book, The State of the Free Press, in, this year, it's 2024. And they publish stories about how journalism has not adequately covered important stories or covered them wrongly. Go to their website, projectcensored.org, and check them out and order the book if you are so inclined. Okay, Rob Tomaszewski, the station manager at KPCA, the radio station, and the local television station that broadcasts planning meetings, city council meetings, and all of that stuff. By law, they have to be broadcast. Well, KPCA does that, and KPCA is one of the sub-businesses of Petaluma Community Access, KPCA, Petaluma Community Access. Okay, John Crowley at the Aquas Cafe. It is kind of a community of nonprofits, artistic collectives, and various groups that meet there and become part of the community. They have a nice restaurant there and outside seating now that the weather is kind of warmer, and they have a couple of local brews on tap, and they make good light fare for their lunches and late dinners. Okay, and Tom Gaffey, the manager of the Phoenix Theater, which is kind of a hangout for alternative teens, and he functions as sort of a kindly uncle and sort of a therapist for teens that are having troubles in their own lives. And he's a good one for them to talk to on an unofficial basis. Okay, Rabbi Ted, who is retired now, but was the rabbi at the B'nai Israel, Rabbi Ted Feldman, B'nai Israel temple here on Western Avenue. Okay, Nariman Art Kutznetz, who I met at the temple. My wife is Jewish. She passed away in 2013, and we went to some night classes at the B'nai Israel, and met a number of interesting people there, and learned a lot. And so, let's see, Project Censored, Andy Lee Roth, Project Censored, Crowley, Gaffey. Okay, Tim Conrad, class of 61, Sonora High School. A photographer extraordinaire, Tom and Nancy Thoreau, Kevin and Lori, and Dave and Rosita Takach in Sacramento. Rich and Kathy in Sebastopol. Can't wait for the month of May to roll around for our gathering of risk players. Dennis and Megan down in Tiburon. Yvonne and Rick in San Francisco. Stan and Kathy in Pacifica. Aunt Jackie in L.A. with her two daughters, Samantha and Melanie, who listen in occasionally. My brother Brandon and Mina in Arizona, and their niece, their daughter, my niece, Andrea, who's a nurse at some hospital in the Santan Valley area. I'm not sure which one. And her husband, Tim, and their three little boys who are growing up very, very fast. And Karina Hilliard, the animal control officer in Patagonia, Arizona. I don't know if she still is. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've been in contact with her. And in Arkansas, Shannon Reed, real estate and massage therapy in Arkansas. She was a massage therapist here at the Fairmont Hotel and Spa here in Sonoma, which is just over the hills from Petaluma, where I am right now. In Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell. Nelson, I'm going to call you if I don't hear from you in the next week. Amelia Beamer, check her out on YouTube. Go to Locus Magazine, Locus, and that's a magazine that reviews books in the horror, fantasy, and science fiction genre. And she goes on YouTube and lets you know which books by whom are going to be reviewed in that month's issue of Locus, Locus. They're across the bay in Oakland, but she is in Florida right now. And then Dr. Dave in Raleigh, Durham, the world's greatest a pulmonary doctor, and now he's into the art game. I think he's in Chicago right now and showing his work. But go to his website, daverubinpainting.org, and check him out. He has quite a unique take on reality. And then Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger, and then back on the West Coast, the Sonora Gang, Robert Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their two kids, Brad and Martha, Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, Lynn Quayle, who splits her time between Sonora and New York City, I believe, Manhattan. She owns a property there on Manhattan, rents it out part-time to somebody, and then she travels back and forth because it's a rent-controlled apartment, I believe. I'm not sure whether she owns it or rents it, but it's rent-controlled. And John Gleason up in Twain Harte, California, and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer. And then all the way down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. She used to be one of our classmates. Okay. Good news. I've promised to start all these shows with good news. And here's the first bit. A Texas judge, blocks Attorney General Ken Paxton's demand for transgender minors' medical files concerning gender-affirming care. Now, what would he do with those medical files? Nothing good, I'm sure, but probably he would use them to harass the parents of these transgender kids. And PFLAG, P-F-L-A-G, National, sued to block Paxton's request on Friday. Okay, that was last Friday, March 1st. 2 Fridays ago. Okay. And Judge Maria Cantu Hexel issued an injunction against Ken Paxton. He is one of the many hateful MAGA-head Republicans. It makes it even worse that he's from Texas. Not all Texans are hateful Republicans. There's plenty of caring, accepting, progressive Democrats in Texas. Boy, do I hope that this 2024 election sees the elimination of Ted Cruz. I'm having a brain freeze on his Democratic opponent. It'll pop into my mind soon. Okay. The Texas AG, I'm sure, wanted the medical records to harass families of transgender kids. Okay, last week I kind of ran out of time and was not able to finish with the notes that I had made up, so here goes. Well, it's President Joe Biden, the incumbent, versus the orange sociopathic bloat bag in 2024. The orange sociopathic bloat bag is already spreading fake AI-generated photos of him sitting with groups of black guys and black women rallying for the orange sociopathic bloat bag at a holiday party. Okay. I see by the results of inquiries by polling outfits that the orange sociopathic bloat bag is gaining some support amongst black voters. Boy, that has come to an end. He despises you, and he would not be caught dead in those AI-generated photo events. The GOP generally despises the party's uneducated sheep-like base, but desperately needs their votes. Elon Musk is visiting Mar-a-Lago, where the orange sociopathic bloat bag is hanging out. The orange sociopathic bloat bag needs money desperately. He will beg Musk for a bailout, maybe, or to sell his website, Truth Social, to Elon Musk. Maybe that will go through, maybe it won't. Okay. The orange sociopathic bloat bag is probably asking Elon Musk to pay off his fraud judgments in New York, $470 or $80 million, and will Musk pay off his judgment? I hope not. Now, as much as Elon Musk is as much a right-winger as I fear he is, I hope he has more sense than to not pay off Trump's legal bills or fraud judgments against him. This is milk, by the way. The YouTube people can see me sipping out of my life begins after coffee cup. Okay. As usual, the Democratic side of the chamber stood. Okay, I'm talking about the State of the Union speech now. Should have said that. As usual, the Democratic side of the chamber stood and clapped at the correct mention by Biden of his plans and achievements. It's like a choreographed no play. He never mentioned the orange sociopathic bloat bag by name. He was heckled a few times by the MAGA heads in the audience, and Biden talked back to them. You know, he was up for the give and take of the heckling speech. He sounded strong, with only a few flubs and hesitations. He addressed his age in a self-deprecating and humorous manner. I, the Midnight Skeptic, predict a Biden victory this November 2024 election. Of course, the orange sociopathic bloat bag and the GOP will claim the election was stolen and rigged, and the orange sociopathic bloat bag has completely taken over the GOP. His daughter-in-law, Laura, is effectively in charge of the monies coming into the Republican National Committee. Good news. Good news. A British court has thrown out an orange sociopathic bloat bag civil suit against Orbis Business Intelligence. Do you remember them? It was a company founded by Christopher Steele, the ex-MI6 agent. Okay, MI6 is Majesty's Intelligence 6. Okay. MI5 is kind of like our FBI. MI6 is kind of like our CIA. Okay. Made famous by the James Bond movies. Okay. And Christopher Steele is the one who disseminated the Steele dossier files. Parts of it have been debunked. The rest of it, I believe what Christopher Steele said. And despite what, oh, certain journalists say over here, hello there, um, project censored. All right, they are claiming that the Steele dossier is completely bogus and made up. Well, maybe some of it is, but okay. I trust Christopher Steele more than I trust Republicans. Okay. And I'm convinced that Roger Stone, back in 2016 and 17, met with Julian Assange, over, I don't know where, I guess in the Ecuadorian embassy where he was hiding out, to plot the release of Hillary's emails. Ooh. Okay, enough of that. Good news to end last week's show on, which I didn't get a chance to read. A survey of high schoolers, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders from 1995 to 2022 by, quote unquote, monitoring the future, indicates that religion is growing less and less important in these three age groups. The question asked was, how often do you attend religious services? It went from 51%. Okay, the question or the answer is never. Okay. Okay, I screwed up my notes here, but bear with me. How often do you attend religious services was the question asked. And the choices boiled down to two choices, was weekly or never. Okay, the weekly was 51% in 1995. That decreased to 63%, or should I say increased to 63% said never in 2022. The answer weekly did show a decrease from 32% to 22%. Okay, I screwed this up royally in my notes. I will redo this question for next week's Midnight Skeptic. Okay. Monitoring the Future also found that trust in science as a means to discover how the world and the universe works is increasing amongst these three groups of young people, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. That is very good news. Okay, back on the notes for this week's show. All right. Texas judge slapping down Kim Paxton. Okay, that we went into that. Okay, there's a website that I subscribe to. It's called The Vagenda. It's maintained by Dr. Jen Gunter, and she is an OBGYN at Kaiser Permanente in San Francisco and is a confirmed skeptic. And this particular column was how the FDA came to make big supplements safer for us all. Now, the column this time is fairly extensive, so I've excerpted important things out of it. Excuse me for 1 minute. Okay, just checking on how much I've ranted so far. 24 minutes. Sip time. Okay. She goes off on supplements in this particular issue of the Vagenda. I urge all of my watchers and listeners to subscribe to it. Okay? Go to Dr. Jen Gunter and, maybe comma, the Vagenda. I'm not sure of the exact address of the website, but do it. It's quite valuable, usually. I met her in passing at a Skeptics conference, and then she wrote a book recently called The Vagina Bible, and she was doing a talk about the book at a local outfit just down in Novato. And I attended it, and I bought the book, and she signed my copy of it. So I got to say hello to her and chat briefly. She lives in Mill Valley. Okay. In 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act was passed. New, tougher requirements were added in 1934. In 1938, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act was passed. Unfortunately, at that time, homeopathic drugs were now included, giving them an almost equal sense in the public's mind of their efficaciousness as real drugs in the public's mind. The 60s and 70s, 1960s and 1970s, saw an explosion of the quote-unquote natural movement. Health food stores popped up right and left, and I was living in the Haight-Ashbury at that time, and it dawned on me that every corner in that district of San Francisco had its own natural health food little market. Health food stores popped up everywhere with vitamins, food additives, and herbal products. If it's herbal, it must be good. That attitude has carried over into today to a large extent. And herbal medicines or herbal supplements, by and large, have not been scientifically tested for their efficaciousness. In 1989, an L-tryptophan additive caused 1,500 people to become ill with eosinophilia myalgia. 38 people died. L-tryptophan was removed from the market, and the illnesses stopped. In 1991, the FDA implemented regulations to protect consumers. Senator Orrin Hatch, a Republican, of course, removed all regulations with the DSHEA. Okay, that stands for Dietary Supplements, Health and Education Act. Supplements at that time, before the passage, were a $9 billion a year business. Now, supplements are a $50 billion a year business, and they need definitely more regulations by the FDA. Are we going to get them? Not if the Republicans can help it. There's a lot more on her latest agenda. Real quick, remember this. Most all Ayurvedic remedies are contaminated with lead, which is very, very bad for us, especially in kids. So the holdovers of hippie parents, please don't treat your kids with Ayurvedic medicines or remedies, as they're misnomeredly called. All right, new topic. Please go to the Vagenda and subscribe. Another sip. Okay. Kari Lake update in Arizona. She's on a mission to make peace with her previous opponents, both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. I haven't heard her refer to herself as the duly elected governor of Arizona, as she was for a long time after the 2022 election. She's an election denier and a favorite of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. She's running in the 2024 election for Senate. And she's tried to make pace with Meghan McCain, John McCain's daughter, but Meghan McCain would have none of it. And I hope she never forgives Kari Lake for some of the things that Kari said about her dad and the McCain family in general. Her opponent, Kari Lake's opponent for the Senate race, is Ruben Gallego. So please, people in Arizona who may be listening to this, vote for Ruben Gallego in the 2024 election this November. He's a good man. He's smart, a veteran, and Kari Lake is just a jerk. All right. Good news. Check out this graphic novel called Feeding Ghosts, a graphic novel memoir by Tessa Hulls. Now, for a brief time, I put up on my Facebook site a conversation with Tessa Hulls was going to have with Maya Kobabe. And Maya Kobabe is the author of a graphic novel about her being brought up in rural Petaluma here. And her book was called Genderqueer, the most banned book in the United States in the year 2021. Anyway, check out this book, Feeding Ghosts. I haven't read it yet, but one theme in it is wariness of quote-unquote forced binaries. And it is just what it says. Society, especially the hateful Republican type of society, tries to force people into many times an unwanted binary identification. There's more than just male or female. You can be bigender, or in the case of Mayako Babe, genderqueer, whereas you don't identify with either male or female. Okay, but check this book out. Okay, good news. 7.6% of U.S. adults now identify as LGBTQ plus, if you want to add that on. I think the plus stands for allies of the LGBTQ community, or identify as something other than heterosexual in their sexual orientation. Well, why is this good news? Because more and more people are free to love who they want and be who they want and be who they feel like they are. Okay, all this despite religion's efforts to shove people into narrow, soul-stifling straitjackets, and the GOP is complicit in this. And the GOP claims that they're the party of freedom? Seriously? Okay. Okay, bad news. Sayyid Qutb, he's dead now. He died in 2015. His ideas are followed by the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other radical Islamic outfits. The world, this is his ideology, the world must be purified by killing all the infidels and establishing the strict rule of Islam. Qutb, and it's spelled Qutb. I'm not sure of the exact way that's pronounced. I'm trying my best. Anyway, he was Egyptian and was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. Their main goal is to overthrow secular governments by jihad and institute Sharia law. In that regard, they're not that much different from Christian nationalists who want to overthrow secular governments and institute God's law as only they interpret it. Hello, Mike Johnson. The Midnight Skeptic has said all along that religion, all religions, are the source of violence and hatred and intolerance on this planet. Islam is just no exception. Maybe, just maybe, the Wiccan religion is the exception to that thought that I have. I don't know. I don't know that much about the Wiccan religion. There have been people have offered up exceptions to this. The Jain religion, the Sikh religion, S-I-K-H, Buddhist religion. I don't know enough about the Sikh religion and the Jain religion to make a statement about their uh, tendency to violence or not. Uh, the Buddhists are quite violent as regards the civil war that occurred in Sri Lanka not that long ago. They can be just as violent as anybody else. And I am pretty much of a fan of the Dalai Lama. There are some of his reported beliefs that I disagree with, like same-sex marriage, for instance. The last I heard, and this was about 3 or 4 years ago, he was against that for whatever reasons. I will research that for the next show. But as far as I'm concerned, all religions are imbued with the hatred of some group and are violent. And right here, Sayyid Qutb and his ideas don't dissuade me from that opinion. Islam is not a religion of peace. The Hamas, they're as violent as anybody can be. The Jewish religion, they're as violent as any other religion. And I don't know. And the violence that's going on over in Gaza right now is testament to that. Jews can be as violent as any other religion, and they have no claim on being peaceful. I guess oh boy, I'm having a brain freeze on the Christian people over in Pennsylvania, these minor sects that are essentially pacifists. I might exempt them from my statements about all religions. I'm having a brain freeze on their name now. The Mennonites. Okay. I will research them more for next week's show. Okay. Certainly, the GOP, the MAGA head Republicans, as representatives of Christian fundamentalism and evangelical Christian nationalists, are way off the charts as far as violence goes. Okay, enough of that for right now. I'm just riffing. And, okay. Next, Benedict update. The Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office has just ruled that their death was a suicide. Owasso Police Department's Lieutenant Nick Boatman announced this like today. They had toxic levels of two drugs in their system. A complete autopsy will be released in 10 days to the medical examiner. And for the record, I don't trust the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office to be honest about this. And I certainly don't believe the Owasso Police Department. I'm sure that whatever the cause of their death, they were, the police department and the medical examiner's office, probably being good Republicans, will make bad light of the causes of her death. Okay. All right. good news. A handful of startups excuse me, are now making palm oil, but not from palm trees, from laboratories and manufacturing facilities. If these companies succeed in upscaling their production, uh, then palm oil plantations that are environmentally destructive to rainforests worldwide will no longer be needed. Palm oil is used in cooking and as an ingredient in foods as diverse as Girl Scout cookies and ice cream and everything in between. C16 Biosciences, which is a startup company, makes an oil called Palmless. And Bill Gates is an investor, and Xylome, capital XYLOME, they make a product called Yoil, capital YOIL, which is palm oil free. These are two startups. There's others. These oils are made from yeast, and the yeast is fed from food waste. The yeasts are overfed, and when that happens, the yeast will produce oils that are similar to palm oil. And then it's harvested and processed, purified, and bottled, and shipped to restaurants and food processors that before used palm oil from palm oil plantations. Well, hopefully that won't need to be used anymore, because in order to plant these palm oil plantations, the owners of the land raise perfectly good rainforests, and in order to plant these plantations, palm tree plantations are not good for wildlife and the ecosystem in general. Fish oil is the next on the list to be produced by these lab factories producing, I want to say, artificial fish oil. This will reduce the taking of large quantities of salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines, which is good for the maritime ecosystems. Okay. Bad news. More hate and ignorance from Republicans. Okay, I got plenty of time to finish it this time, not like last week. Okay. This time it's from Long Island, no less. I thought Long Island was rather progressive and mostly Democratic Party registrants, but there's a island of hate on Long Island. Okay, this time from Long Island, no less. Bruce Blakeman, who's a Republican, a Nassau County executive, signed an order requiring kids' sports teams to, quote unquote, expressly designate teams as male, female, or co-ed based on their assigned sex at birth. This is, quote, legally untenable, said Letitia James, the New York's Attorney General. And she also said it was transphobic and deeply dangerous. There are fewer than 0.8% of kids of all ages in Nassau County, New York. So, and of that 0.8%, how many of them are transgender girls? And how many of them are interested in playing sports? I would submit that maybe 10 or 12 at most. And there is no minority so small that Republicans won't pick on them in their cruelty. Oh, boy. Okay. I'm off my notes. Okay. And that goes all the way across the country in states that Republicans control and are passing these anti-trans girls in sports laws. There just aren't that many to worry about. It's totally a political ploy to garner votes from their hate-mongering MAGA heads. Okay, enough. I'm still riffing. All right. Kind of a new topic, but related. Leah Thomas. You remember her? University of Pennsylvania transgender swimmer on the women's team in 2022 won the NCAA Division I 500-yard freestyle event. In 2018, she came out as transgender to her family. In May of 2019, she began transitioning from male, which was her birth gender assigned when she was born, with hormone therapy. She was required to swim on the men's team in 2019 and 2020 as a junior at University of Pennsylvania. But she got permission to swim on the women's team in 2021 and 2022. She took a year off for personal reasons, I would imagine, to help her transition. Okay, now the sports body that regulates swimming events has passed a resolution saying that a transgender woman needs to have transitioned before the onset of puberty, beginning with Tanner Stage 2, which I will talk about on next week's show. There are pediatricians that have come up with a stage of adolescence called the Tanner stage. And usually it begins around 12 to 14 for guys. And it falls in line with my feelings, and that I've said this a number of times on my show, that if you're going to transition from male to female and you want to play sports on girls' teams, you should have transitioned or at least begun transitioning before puberty sets in, okay? Because guys that have gone through puberty are just naturally more muscular. Their bones are stronger. Their red blood cells carry more oxygen to muscles that need them for athletic performance, and on and on and on. It's not just testosterone, although that's a main ingredient in transitioning from male to female. It's a complicated issue, way more complicated than Republicans are capable of understanding or appreciating. Okay, And I'm going to end this broadcast with some good news to end the show. A.G. Bayer, Bayer, now is the owner of Monsanto. They bought Monsanto 5 or 6 years ago, and it's weed killer Roundup. And they are still on the hook for $10 billion in cancer settlements, court settlements. The court cases are still coming out of the woodwork. And this is a quote from Nora Engstrom of Stanford Law School. She's a professor there. Quote, plaintiffs are on a winning streak. Okay. And Bayer has set aside an additional $6 billion to cover all the new claims that are coming out of the woodwork. Okay. I wish these claimants good luck. Okay, that's the show for this week. And here is my playing music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, don't forget to check out Dr. Jen Gunter's site, The Vagenda, capital VAJENDA. That's kind of a play on words. And check out Dr. Dave Rubin's painting website, or he does other things besides painting, art site in general, daverubinpainting.org. And then check out the Phoenix Theater's event site. They're here in Petaluma. And also John Crowley's Aquas Cafe, AQUS Cafe. Again, here in Petaluma. Okay. That's it for this week. I'll be talking to you and ranting some more next week. Pet your cats. That's all important.